former NYPD Detective Anthony D'Esposito.
Well, thank you, Elise, and good morning. For those of us in law enforcement that have visited this beautiful memorial before, there's an inscription under the lion that states, "It's not how they died that made them heroes, it's how they lived." And that's what we need to focus on, not only during Police Week, but all the time. And I reflect back on individuals from my district. Stephen McDonald, police officer Stephen McDonald, who was the face of the NYPD for many years, was shot at point-blank range in Central Park by teenage thugs. And he spent his life promoting forgiveness, promoting peace. It wasn't how he died, it was how he lived. I think about Officers Ramos and Liu, and I remember the blood-curdling radio transmissions that day in December when they were shot in their patrol car in downtown Brooklyn. Shot because they wore a uniform. They were just married. Ramos was a preacher at his local church. It's not how they died, it's how they lived. I think about Anthony Dwyer, who lived in Elmont, who worked in Midtown South as a rookie and was thrown off the roof of a building to his death at the young age of 22 years old. And we're still fighting to this day to keep his murderer behind bars. But back in his hometown of Elmont, he was a volunteer firefighter. He volunteered for his church. It wasn't how he died, it was how he lived. Speaker McCarthy gave me the honor of placing my wreath in front of the inscription of Sergeant Natalie Brill, who lived in my hometown of Island Park. She was an NYPD sergeant who worked in some of the most dangerous precincts throughout the city and ended her career in applicant processing, making sure that the finest of the finest were prepared for their life in law enforcement. She was the president of the Island Park Little League, raised her beautiful daughter, and died at the young age of just over 40 from 9/11 cancer. It wasn't how she died, it was how she lived. So, ladies and gentlemen, over this next week, visit the wall and look at those names. And like Speaker McCarthy said, every individual has a story. Google them. Find out what they were all about, because that's what this memorial is. After a member of law enforcement, a firefighter, dies, everybody says never forget. But you know what? Many do. But you know who doesn't? The people standing with me. You know who doesn't? Speaker McCarthy, who said, you know what? This is the third year in a row. It's going to be bigger and better than ever. And we are going to ride through the streets of our nation's capital and let everyone know, regardless of political party, regardless of where you're from, regardless of what department you represent, we are going to let them know that the Republican Conference backs the blue, that the Republican Conference stands with law enforcement, and that we will be the loudest voice echoing from corner to corner of this nation, making sure that every person that wears the uniform knows that they have individuals that have their back in the halls of the United States Congress. So thank you so much for being here. God bless you all. God bless America. And God bless police officers everywhere in this nation.
Good job.